Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of September 28th through October 4th, 2020. All right, so this week we have a full moon on Thursday. So as we approach Thursday, good to see how we are coming up to the heightened phase of the lunar month and maybe starting to gain some awareness around the full moon. Usually the awareness is in terms of what's been working this lunar cycle and what hasn't been working these past couple weeks and how we can make some shifts and changes to further develop our life energy for the last 2 weeks of the lunar cycle. So other aspects we have this week, we have Mars squaring up to Saturn, concentrated in the earlier part of the week. This is that kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of energy. And it is good to have patience and persistence and discipline towards any long-term goals. And in this way, it does become very, very constructive. Venus will also be trine Mars around Monday, Tuesday. So maybe some synergy between the yin and yang aspects of interpersonal relationships. Saturn will go direct earlier in the week, suggesting anything that's been more on the back burner these past 5 months, that were maybe some things we were working on earlier in the year now start to move forward and good to implement. All right, so other than this, at the very end of the week, Pluto will go station direct, so maybe some shifts of empowerment and personal transformation to be incorporated into next week. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for Monday through Sunday, again, September 28th through October 4th. Now, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. So you will hear me say some signs that may not sound like what you've heard before, like the full moon in Pisces, for example. We do have a full moon in the constellation of Pisces on Thursday, but in mainstream astrology, you may have heard it be in Aries. So if you are new to this form of astrology, which uses the visible sky, definitely check out the link down below for more information. All right, so let's take a look at this for each day of the week. But before we do, let's take a look at a quick recap and see where all the fast-moving planets are, so we can keep the context of the bigger picture. So we still have the Sun and Mercury in Virgo all week long. Mercury will go retrograde soon once he gets to the end of Virgo, but still a good week here for improvement and refinement, right? It's been a great time of focusing on things like personal development, things like building good habits, good routines, right? And still really good for that stuff here this week. Venus in Leo suggests enjoying a bit of the fun and expressive elements of life, maybe in those interpersonal relationships as well. And of course, Mars in Pisces in this very long transit, suggesting this importance of being more receptive, right? When we are taking action, it's good sometimes to take a little bit of a breather, a step back, and be more in touch and in tune with the ebb and flows of life. And how can we put energy and direction towards those ebbs and flows? So good to just be more receptive and willingness to go with the flow with Mars in Pisces. All right, so looking specifically at this week, the most important thing will be the full moon concentrated around Thursday. So as we do start to approach Thursday, good to maybe gain some momentum and see that this is the highest phase of the cycle, and around Thursday maybe make some shifts and changes to further implement some things for the last 2 weeks of the month. You can see here in the transits, we do have a lot of concentration of energy here these first couple days. And let's go ahead and start first by talking about where the moon's going to be on Monday. So the moon will be in Aquarius both Monday and Tuesday. So the theme here is how can we get in touch with our visionary side? Great couple days for cultivating our future visions and also any collective matters if you are involved with those. So good time of spending maybe time with our community or our friends, network circles, and just being aware of things like the world and the global collective. Could be also good. But whatever your visions are for the future, good to develop those and really access that sense of individuality that does want to express itself and be our eccentric, unique, and different self, because this is what the world needs. This is what our communities need, is for us to always be envisioning and inducing change and being our true selves, which are very different individually. All right, so with this, we do have Venus and Mars in a trine on Monday, Tuesday. So there could be some synergy here with the interpersonal relationship stuff. Maybe just noticing that it is a bit easy to be direct and assertive, yet also receptive and tactful, right? Yin yang, good synergy there between the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves and of our relationships. Now, also here going into Tuesday, Saturn is going to go station direct. So this happens every year, but the past 5 months, maybe things have been more on the back burner regarding things that maybe you were implementing earlier in the year. So if you can think back to that, were there some things that you were taking seriously, putting a lot of maybe discipline or perseverance into earlier in the year, and maybe was paused the past 5 or maybe reworked the past 5 months. Now great to start to implement that. I would give it some time, maybe till the later part of the week for it to build some momentum, but it's an excellent week for starting to implement some long-term plans, some things that do require disciplines and perseverance. And perseverance will definitely be required here, collectively speaking, because Mars, the planet of our drive and initiative, is in a square with long-term Saturn. So this could be that kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of energy. And it really does test our perseverance and our discipline. So what makes this great, though, is how can we align our short-term plans with our long-term plans. This is an energy we were feeling last week as well. And if you recall back late August 24th was the first contact with this. So it's been this kind of energy, right? Both Mars and Pisces, which is requiring more of that needing to go with the flow and be more receptive. Now adding to that is this patience. So the idea here is how can we see the long term, right? Align those short-term goals with our long-term goals. How can we intentionally incorporate things like patience and perseverance, right? And this can make it a very, very constructive part of the month, part of the week, part of the year even, because this will be, the last contact will be on January 13th of next year once Mars goes direct. But yeah, nonetheless, really good to have this long-term perspective. So very constructive, could be very productive, and anything that does require that more long-term plan, discipline, patience, intentionally implemented can make this a fantastic week very constructively for whichever area you do want to implement that into. All right, so that's perhaps the most important aspect of the week, along, of course, with the full moon around Thursday. Now, one minor note about Tuesday, the sun will be opposite up to Chiron, and Chiron will be involved with the full moon. So maybe some things coming up in terms of healing. Nothing major, and it could be perhaps in relationships because oppositions is usually someone else mirroring it back to us or some sort of interpersonal connection. But if there is any wounds around either expressing ourselves or just in general, maybe in regards to relating, it could be a good day for intentionally expressing ourselves and intentionally connecting and relating, which can end up being very healing and very, very therapeutic. So any intentions around healing could make this a very constructive part of the week. All right, so that's most of the concentration of energy. Once we do get to this Wednesday time period, the moon will start to shift into watery Pisces, gearing up for the full moon in Pisces on Thursday. So Wednesday onwards, we start to feel that energy, and this full moon will be about cultivating that more receptive side like we were talking about with Mars and Pisces. So it's a great time to do a status check with this side. How is our willingness to go with the flow and to be receptive? Are we balancing a lot of this work energy with Virgo, all the routine and fixing and improving things, with more rest, with more peace, with doing things more important to us on a soul level? So great time of illuminating this and starting to incorporate that side of ourselves. You could say it's the spiritual side. You could also say it's the more receptive side. You could also say it's the more creative and imaginative or intuitive side, right? It's the deep waters of life really coming to the forefront and reminding us that with all this work energy and doing energy, it is important to balance that out with the spiritual energies of life. All right, so I'll make a separate video on the full moon, of course. But nonetheless, yeah, Thursday could be a shifting time period where we could gain some insights about incorporating this more receptive side and implementing it going into next week. All right, but most important thing is it's the heightened phase of the lunar month. And even though it's watery like that, it is good to intentionally incorporate some of that water into our lives. All right, and then as we get into the weekend, the moon will still be in watery Pisces until we get to about Sunday. And Sunday we have some shifts here. The moon will be going into active Aries, passing over Uranus. And so going into next week around Sunday, maybe themes around taking some initiative, getting some action, some assertiveness, forward-moving energy in our life. And especially as well because Pluto is going to be going station direct around Sunday. Now, this does take definitely some time to slowly move forward because Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. But going into next week, if there are some things that now maybe you've been on the back burner the past 6 months that involved empowering yourself in some way or personal transformation that you felt earlier in the year, this could be great to implement for the rest of the year going into 2021. So just good to be aware of it. We don't feel it that personally, but going into next week, if you do feel like there's some things you want to empower yourself with, start to move forward in that deeper way of Pluto, could be very, very empowering now for the rest of the year. All right, so very important week, actually. Of course, the full moon's important. Mars square Saturn, this patience is important, but a lot of forward-moving energy. You know, Saturn's going direct, Pluto's going direct, so a lot of the collective things from earlier in the year do come back for re-implementation personally and collectively. All right, everyone. So that is the week in a nutshell. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you again for watching and all of your support. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. And if you aren't yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, definitely check out the link down below for that. There's exclusive videos, discounts, and extra content not available on the YouTube channel. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time for the next weekly forecast. Take care.